Brief history. When HubSpot started, the fundamental thesis was, hey, there's this thing called the internet that millions of small businesses should be benefiting from, but they're not. And the reason they're not is because it's scary. It was very daunting. So our thing was, how do we make it approachable? How do we democratize this thing called the internet? We're doing the same thing with AI that says, okay, there's this new thing called AI that millions of small businesses should be benefiting from. What do we need to do in order to kind of get them into the fold? Before the internet, you didn't have the internet, but then you did, so you'd be an idiot not to use the internet. AI is the same thing. If you build a reputation online, in the algorithm's mind, that you are crappy content, not trustworthy, it's hard to dig yourself back out of that hole. And the same thing applies to AI.
You still code yourself. It almost seems to me like it's got to be a waste of your time. Is there a reason why you're like deep in the trenches?
Yeah, and I'm going to go on a mini rant here. So,
Dharmesh, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
So you do a magnitude of things, but you're best known as the co-founder and CTO of HubSpot. And you guys were really early to inbound marketing and blogging. If you were to go back in time and start HubSpot today in the AI search era, what do you think inbound would look like?
So let's take a step back. So the early days of HubSpot, SEO, search engine optimization, as we all know it now, was a relatively new thing. And that was a key part of HubSpot's product. And I've been thinking a lot now about what many call AEO, answer engine optimization, that says, okay, well, this is like SEO, but now we're solving for these large language models and the AI apps. So a couple of things. One is, when we started with the SEO product that we had, SEO was a bit of a dark place. We had just gotten over a lot of black hat tactics and keyword stuffing and all these things that some companies and people are playing, effectively trying to trick the algorithm. And our approach was the opposite of that, which is that we don't think that really sustains long term. And what you should really be doing is helping the algorithm deliver great results that their consumers will be happy with. And trying to fight Google, which was obviously and still is a predominant search algorithm. I think all of those things still apply in an AI world that says you want to create value for your users. You want to actually help the algorithm. And the way you did it back then, you said, oh, well, I'm going to have content that's actually useful, that answers a user's question. And there was a phrase I used back then called the best way to rank is to be rank worthy. And it's as simple as that. That says, okay, if I were out there like searching for XYZ, whatever the keyword or search phrase is, would I want to see this web page as the very first result? Honestly, if you ask yourself that question, and if the answer is no, job one is to make that the true answer. Like, this is the best thing that deserves to rank above the other things that are being ranked right now. Because once you do that, once you create content that deserves to rank higher than the things that are currently being ranked, you're effectively kind of swimming with the tide. Over the fullness of time, you will rank because Google's got hundreds of engineers that were working on the problem of getting the best content to actually be highest in the rankings. So I think all that kind of philosophical approach still holds true now. But the thing we need to all sort of keep in mind is that back then the atomic unit for the internet at large was web pages. So that's what Google was indexing. That's what was ranking. It was a link to a web page, and there was a link graph and all those things. Now the unit is actually smaller, and we have another degree of indirection because it's the LLM looking at content that's out there, using search-like capabilities, passing it through an LLM, synthesizing the answers, quote unquote, it got, and then giving you the actual answer, right? That's what makes Perplexity and the search and ChatGPT, they're so amazing. And so the way businesses should think about this is that how do I take the content that I have or produce new content that helps the LLM arrive at an answer? And there are a couple of tactical things you can do. One is, so back in the day, you might write an 800,000 word blog post on whatever topic of interest, and Google was really great at saying, oh, that's high quality value, click-throughs are great, the bounce rate is low, all the things that Google is looking at in order to kind of determine it to be high quality content. Now what's considered high quality is things that are easily quotable, like snackable content by the LLM, that are pithy and kind of precise and accurate, that fits well inside the answer that the LLM is going to provide, right? So if you if you have a 400 word answer that's sort of meandering, that sort of gets at the question, that's much less likely to be cited than something that provides exactly the answer in a kind of nice, soundbitey sort of form in a way. And so I think the way we need to kind of think about it is like, all of us have content assets that were kind of effectively written for humans to consume, which is great. I love humans. But now it's like, okay, we're going to still solve for that, but in the same way that we would take a web page and optimize it for SEO, it's like I want fast loading, I want semantic tags, I want to use my H1s properly, all those things. Now they're a new set of tactics to say, okay, how do I take that content or those ideas and make them so possibly put them in question answer form. Let's make it easy for the LLM to know exactly which questions this article answers by just tell them. It's like, yo, here are the 10 questions, here are the answers, and like nice snackable form that's that's citable, I guess would be my so thank you for coming to my TED talk on answer engine optimization. But anyway.
No, that was incredible. There's a lot I want to unpack there. So AEO is this brand new distribution channel, and um, it seems like HubSpot's pushing hard into this. A lot of companies are starting to push hard into this. If someone were to start today and they watch this video and this kind of like was the light bulb moment for them, what are the first 2 to 3 things they should do? Should they be rewording their blog articles? Should they be creating new content? What's the first step?
Both. So find out, which you can do with existing tools, which of your content is already kind of considered high quality by the search engines themselves, right? There are lots of free tools and paid tools that will do that. That content that I think should be, I'll say, reformulated so that it has sort of an LLM mindset. In the same way that we said, oh, we're not going to write content for the search engines, we're actually writing it for the humans. We're still going to be writing it for the humans, but now we have this abstraction layer, which is the LLM, that's going to consume the content on the human's behalf. It's still a human that's going to read it, and they're going to get that little snippet. But how do you take the content of the ideas that you have that you know are high quality, and how do you, I'll say, almost translate them? This is actually a decent metaphor. I'm making it up as I go. But so let's imagine you had 100 blog posts in written in English for human readers. Great. And then you discover all of a sudden that you have a bunch of people in Japan that are reading your content, that are potential customers, potential subscribers based on the business you're in. What you would do is you said, oh, I'm going to take my English content, same ideas, and I'm going to translate it to this other language, which is Japanese, in order to better serve that particular audience. So what we're talking about now, moving from an SEO mindset, solving for Google and the search engines, to an LLM mindset, solving for AI, is to say, oh, well, how can I take the ideas and the content that I have and translate it, quote unquote, to make it more easily consumable by large language models versus consumable by the search engines and humans directly?
That makes total sense. Is there, maybe this is completely inaccurate based on what you first said, which was essentially just create good content and the LMs will rank you. But are there any like AI workflows you can use to translate? I know it's not perfect, but it can get you like 80% there. Is there anything HubSpot or any of your startups are doing to basically rank an LLM search using AI to get them there?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not meant to be a HubSpot sales pitch, but the approach here is you do want some amount of automation. The nice thing is, yes, AI makes things harder because they're different now than they used to be in SEO, but AI also brings a lot of kind of technology to kind of help with that process. So a few things, if you're a like existing startup or an existing business, one of the first things you need to do, if you're not already doing it, is tracking your traffic. Just like back in the day, we would track and say how much of my traffic is coming from organic versus paid, for PPC versus social versus whatever. Now you need to have a bucket around AI. It's like how much of my traffic is coming from the AI engines, ChatGPT, Perplexity, the top ones. And there are tools out there that do that, but you need that so you have a sense for. And the good news, bad news is I will bet you money that your organic traffic is down because human attention is moving from the search engines to these answer engines, to things like ChatGPT and Perplexity. So that's kind of thing number one, is to get a sense for where you stand and how it's trending. So as you do things, you can kind of get a sense for what's working and what's not. Number two is to have, And you can use AI tools for this, existing ones, or HubSpot's building an AI, AEO tool is to help with that workflows. Like, how do I take my existing content and rethink it, reimagine it for AEO, and then you can kind of track it. So that would be the step two. But it's like my advice would be this stuff is just like search engine optimization was early 25 years ago. This stuff is early, changing fast. But I think the fundamentals actually don't change. So even if you think about where LLMs will source the information that are kind of going to be considered for citation, considered for being included in the answer they provide the person, all those fundamentals are still going to apply. In some cases, they're actually using classic search engines or search engine technology, so those things are still going to matter. The fact that you have lots of inbound links, the fact that you're referred to by other sources, is still going to apply. So that's not wasted effort. But now we just kind of need to take it up a level. The other thing to kind of be prepared for, and this is one advice we give HubSpot customers, is think about taking your content and reducing the primitives down that make it easy for you to kind of reformulate. So what I mean by that is like think in chunks instead of web pages. To say, okay, here's the atomic unit. The atomic unit might be like a question answer pair. That is, and there might be 5,000 questions you answer across 200 blog posts, whatever it is. But if you can get it down to those chunks, and AI can definitely help with this, then what happens is as we learn more about what LLMs are favoring or what they're looking for, or what actually works, it's easier to kind of retake those chunks and reassemble them in ways that make sense versus taking a long form narrative and trying to kind of translate that on the fly. So that would be another kind of piece of tactical advice that should be part of your flow, is to take kind of reduce down to kind of snackable bits, the key insights or ideas that are embedded within your content, either you're producing or going to produce.
I look forward to reading a guide on how to do this. It seems like it's a lot of, take workflows from here, take workflows from there, and kind of mash them together.
Yeah.
And there's like this weird kind of term that I like to call it, which is just AI intuition.
Yep.
Just this kind of skill of knowing when and when not to use AI, because we're kind of at that weird point where it's not end to end yet. You got to have a human in the loop in some places. In some places, you can hand it over to AI.
Yep.
What do you think about AI intuition, or just like that broad term of like knowing when to have a human in the loop and not? And are you like training new people at HubSpot to have that kind of sense, or is there any kind of like courses or training programs you put new employees through?
Yeah, I mean, one is, and this was kind of the genesis of the inbound marketing thing that HubSpot started back in the day. And this is going to sound very meta and very philosophical, but it's still true. So the one thing we sort of instill, not sort of, we do instill in the team, is that at the end of the day, after all is said and done, our job is to create value. And the reason we want to be kind of cited is because, once again, just like you need to be rank worthy, you need to be site worthy. It's like, okay, you're not trying to trick ChatGPT into like providing your answer or whatever. It's like, do the work to come up with, do the research, whatever industry you happen to be in, to come up with really good answers, and then to kind of automate the pieces of it that, for instance, I think it's well accepted for good reason. I use the language translation metaphor. It's like, oh, I want to go from English to Japanese or whatever. In a large body of use cases, it's completely okay to use AI for that. You should be using AI for that because it allows you to do that at scale. Now, is it going to be exactly as good as the top-notch translator? No, but you don't necessarily need that in all cases, right? So this is where and I like that phrase a lot, that kind of building that AI intuition, but always have in the back of your mind, like, what actually does the human value? And this is kind of like a golden rule thing, like, how would I want technology to work if I were the human on the other side, right? And a lot of the times right now, it's like, and AI-slop is an increasing thing, and we can talk about that as well. But that never really works, right? It's like so back in the SEO days, people would do keyword stuffing, duplicate web pages. They would do link circles and say, I'm going to have 50,000 web pages that I spin up on these kind of crappy domains or crappy website, all pointing to because I learned that inbound links are good. Well, no, inbound links are a proxy for value determination, and if the value is not there, then you're effectively swimming against the tide. It's just a matter of time before you figure things before things come out. So, and while we're on the topic, just because I think it's a very this is like a first principles primitive, which is back in the day, in the SEO days, when folks were doing either black hat or gray hat SEO things. One of the arguments that the agencies or companies providing those services would say is like, oh, well, we should do this because the worst that's going to happen is that it won't work and you'll get like zero return. And I don't think that's a true statement because even it isn't then and it isn't now because the worst that can happen is actually not zero return. The worst that can happen is negative return. That says if you build a reputation online in the algorithm's mind that you are crappy content, not trustworthy, black hat, it's hard to dig yourself back out of that hole. So you actually reduce your value. So now you have to dig yourself out of the hole that you dug yourself into and then add value in order to kind of get to where you want it to be. So this is not, oh, we're going to throw a bunch of things out there or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Worst that's going to happen is that like, it's zero. And the same thing applies to AI. So the reason we need humans in the loop is that we still have a better sense for what humans want. And some people call it taste, instinct, whatever you call it. We need to kind of tap into that. That's the thing we need to be developing is figuring out what are the things that are basically a grind that AI is as good or good enough at doing. Fine. And the reason to do that partly is drive efficiency, but is to be able to elevate our creativity so the humans are spending more time on the things the humans are uniquely good at, right? So let's take our time away from the grind towards the thing that creates legitimate value that's differentiated. That's the yeah.
I really like that example. It reminded me of a tweet I saw. I think had to be at least a year ago, but it was that you have to be careful with your tweeting now because the training data will kind of live forever.
Yes.
So if you're kind of just like shit posting a bunch of random stuff, the LLMs will remember this.
Yeah.
So that point that you made that like the worst you could do is like negative, it's totally true because whatever you're putting out there in the world now, it's getting almost remembered and the LMs are training on it, right?
Yeah.
So like you do got to be careful with what you put out, but at the same time you got to put out content. It has to be really high quality.
Yes.
So like I think the quality bar is just going up like crazy. So I really appreciate that example.
Yeah. A
Another thing,
related thing to this is so the reverse is true. I tend to be a positive leaning. I know you are too, optimistic type. But the good news there on that particular thing is that value and reputation, authority, brand, whatever label you want to associate to it, compounds. So what happened is like let's say you were a business and you create great content pre AI and your web pages were out there and you were ranking because and you had a great reputation online as a result of which you were ranking in the search algorithms. Then Perplexity comes along, and this is an actual tangible thing. So Perplexity's early implementation was it was using the Bing search engine to come up with a list of links of here are the possible things that will answer the question that the user is asking, pass it to an LLM, and basically it did the work for you, right? So it was effectively that was the kind of the pipeline. This is okay. User typed in this particular question. I'm going to find from Bing the related web pages that are out there that are high quality based on the kind of old classic link structure and other things that search engines used. And then I'm going to take those web pages, I'm going to pass them to an LLM with a nice prompt that then kind of comes up with the answer. And Perplexity was brilliant at this, right? By the way, full disclosure, I'm friends with the founder. I'm an investor in the company, but I would say these things regardless. And so the kind of point here is that whatever you did pre-AI to create that value that built that reputation served you well because you started showing up in Perplexity because Perplexity was using Bing. And so all of this is like turtles all the way up and down, right? It's like, okay, well, value accrues upwards and across. You may reformulate, you may translate, but that brand sort of carries through, and it's going to carry through with the thing you do right now. So it's so the investment is worth it, I guess, in developing that human intuition around when and when not to use AI. And it's like, and sometimes I think we have a natural sense, I think, for like whether something is kind of shady or actually high value or something. It's like, it's we get it right, we get it wrong. But some deep down inside, I think we all have consciousness that sort of know when we're sort of dancing on the edges or have gone to the dark side. Just avoid those temptations because in the long run, it compounds that kind of goodness and value creation, focusing on your audience, your customers, I think accrues value.
totally. I want to touch on AI-slop a little bit. I know we mentioned it a little bit before, but this is kind of related. HubSpot is investing really heavily into like the podcast network. This has been going on for a few years now, but you guys just have been wildly successful at it. A lot of other companies are now investing into their own podcast networks, kind of copying your model.
Yep.
How do you think about the role of personal brands, company brands, or just content in general in the next, decade with a bunch of AI content flooding the market?
Yeah, I think to me it's we've had variations of this. It's in terms of inferior content, I'll call it for lack of a better term, from since the pre-AI days. And what we found, we collectively the industry have found, is that the internet has a nose for what is actually good content over the fullness of time. And so the way we think about it now is that, and we're big believers at HubSpot in like the personality behind content and the human behind the content, and we think that's going to continue to be valued. Hence our continued investment, both with our internal resources and with our external resources. And so I think like what I value, like my hope would be that this conversation that we're having is going to create value for for many people out there. And the reason they would gravitate towards this versus something that maybe had even exactly the same words or something, or maybe even the same ideas. Maybe they even crawled this video and created a derivative based on it. It's like it's just not the same. I think we humans appreciate the craft, and there are things that we enjoy, and we think that's going to continue. So I think what's going to happen, and maybe we get steering and power tools in order to produce more content more easily, which is fine. It's like more content needs to exist, but I think the top 1%, top 5% of the content is still going to get rewarded for that high quality. That's my sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Another thing, so on top of running HubSpot, you actually coded and launched a no-code agent builder called Agent.ai. What's the long-term vision for the platform, and why did you personally go all in on it?
Yeah, so it started as a personal kind of nights and weekends project, and the idea behind it, and I do these things sometimes. I have this kind of theory in my head of where the world is going to go, and I'm super impatient, and I have the good fortune of being able to write code. I'm classically trained software developer, so I'll just go do things to try. It's like, okay, well, let's just see where this road leads, and part of it is just, and I recommend this for everyone, is to degree that you can, like, follow your curiosity. It's like, okay, and some of the best things that have happened to me in my professional career have been as a result of dots that kind of later connected. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with that, but then over time, it's like, oh, well, that connects with this or whatever, and something valuable emerges. So on the Agent.ai front, my theory at the time, this is years ago now, is that agents were going to be the next kind of evolution in the development of AI. That we were used to these kind of conversational interfaces, but they were going to become multi-step. We were going to have much better models, which all that's kind of borne out to be true. So agents were going to be a thing. Okay. And so then the weird thought that leapt into my head was, okay, agents are going to be a thing, and they're going to be able to take on increasingly higher order tasks. So you can give them a higher order goal. So right now we can say in a single prompt, we could say, write me a blog post about the rise of the Roman Empire and why it fell or something like that, and you can do that. But what you want, though, is you want it to be able to say, oh, well, actually, I'm launching a new product or a new event 4 months from now. I want you to do that for me. Like, okay, well, what does that mean? It's like, oh, we're going to need a website. We need a social media account. We need to have a social media counter. Like, these are all the pieces that go into serving that higher order goal, right? And we're very, very far from being able to do that. But that's, in my mind, what the agents will be able to do someday, right? And so the way my mental model was and is that agents will effectively act like teammates. And they may be junior teammates. They still will need to be trained. We can talk about all those things. But then the first thing I kind of jumped to was like, okay, well, in this kind of what I think of as a hybrid world of both carbon-based life forms and AI agents, what does that world look like? It's like, well, how are you going to find these agents? Well, right now you go to, if you're going to hire a human, you go to a place like LinkedIn. It's like, okay, what's their history? What's their experience? What's their reputation? You can see things they've posted online. There needs to be an equivalent of that for agents. So the very first pass at agent.ai was it's going to be a professional network for agents because agents are going to need a professional network too to be found, to demonstrate their experience, have a profile, all those things. And the thing I learned subsequent to that, so that's how it started. I'm like, well, there's just not enough agents out there. Like it's like fine, like I have this site that has the ability for agents, kind of to be listed, and so that's when I'm like, okay, well, more agents should exist, and the reason they don't exist right now is it's just too hard to build an agent. No one knows what to do. So there's lots of domain experts that know about X, Y, or Z, but there's no real way to kind of encapsulate that knowledge into something that's a productizable thing that you can make available to others. And so that's where the low code, no code agent builder evolution happened for agent.ai. And that's going like really well, right? So and there's so you have the ability to build an agent for yourself. You have the ability to share your agent that you built with the community, and 2,000 agents of the 50,000 agents that have been created have been shared with the community. But with all candor, I will say these are the early days, right? So it's like the early iPhone App Store days where you're going to have things like the flashlight app all the way through the sophistication of something like Photoshop on the iPhone. And so we have something similar. We have sophisticated agents, and we have very simple kind of hello world style agents. People are still learning. So that's where we're headed. The idea now, the vision for agent.ai is to be a platform for agents to exist, because we think there are lots of these discrete tasks that we will want to give to agents. Someone's going to need to build those agents, and it doesn't have to be built with our agent builder tool. It can be, we have an SDK and APIs and things like that. But then now, what I'm spending sleepless nights thinking about, so that's moving. Well, we just want to know how to solve these kind of concrete individual tasks. But the next step is around agent-to-agent collaboration. To say, okay, well, I talked about that. Oh, I'm launching an event. I need to do these 7 things. Now, there may be agents for those 7 things. Well, whoever that high order, we'll call it the event manager person in your organization, if there's a agent equivalent to that, will sort of need to know how to find the agents and delegate the work and then orchestrate the work and pay those sub agents to do whatever things they are. So that's going to be the ultimate vision. This is why I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about networks. But imagine and this is what agent AI in its fullest form will be, is like imagine hundreds of thousands of agents that are all doing specific goals, but they themselves might be using other agents on the network in order to accomplish the goal. This is an idea as old as software, right? That says, oh, I have these libraries or APIs or functions or things like that that I can reuse and build on the top of it's like building on standing on the shoulders of giants model. But it's awfully useful for all those agents to exist on one consistent platform. And we're focused on business use cases in the kind of go-to-market, marketing, and sales space, but I think that idea sort of holds. So that's, yeah.
It's a really interesting thesis. I don't know if you've seen this, but there are like a few huge communities and YouTubers that are specifically focused on no-code agent builders. Like there's one for N8N.
N8N,
I
yep.
think they're making like hundreds of thousands a month teaching these workflows, but agent AI is like kind of baking that community and those agents into the platform itself. So like everyone can see and use and build on top of other agents. So it's a really interesting thesis.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're headed into the area of like domain expert agents that can work amongst each others.
Yeah. Even if you start at the lowest level right now, so I have a huge amount of respect. There's lots, as you noted, YouTubers kind of teaching the world how to use some of the existing low-code, no-code builders that are out there. And I think that's awesome. This is sort of an alternate. I'm not really competing with those in that particular way. But what I'm suggesting is that maybe you're going to spend 90% of your calories on kind of teaching other people how to do that. And they're usually within companies, and that's awesome. And they'll make money. But what if you actually built an agent? So this is a little bit like a service business versus a product business, right? It's like the service business is, oh, I'm going to help people to do the thing or whatever and hold their hand or teach them. That's great. But the software business side of it says, well, maybe you have a few ideas in your industry or something you have expertise in that you could actually build an agent and sell it, similar to the App Store model. It's like, so this could be the kind of agent store is the idea, is to be able to monetize the agents and put things out there. So when we have, so there's 2 ends of the spectrum here. We have the kind of deterministic workflow builders like an and make. There are some great ones out there. On the other spectrum, in terms of non-deterministic things, you have custom GPTs, you have Claude projects, you have Gemini gems, and they allow you to effectively do automation-y types of things. And obviously, the LLMs are getting better with reasoning and things like that, so they can do better things. But something it feels like needs to be something sort of in the middle. So I think custom GPTs are great. I use them all the time, but it's not really good at not and they've taken a couple of passes at this, but I don't think it's in their core. But it's like, oh, I actually want to build a combination of things that straddles models, and it can bring the best of what AI has to offer in order for the manifestation of this idea that I have and this domain expertise that I have. So we'll see. It's a fun world.
I also did a lot of research, of course, and I've tried Agent AI many times. And another thing that's interesting is you're making so much of the platform free.
Yeah.
Is there like a mental model behind that? Is there a plan for monetization? How do you think about that?
Yeah. So we have the same MO that HubSpot has had. HubSpot, the company is 19 years old now. And at the core of our approach to business is that you have to first focus on creating value before you look to extract value. It's like, okay, so our idea here is like, okay, so we've got this thesis about the world. We're going to build out a product, and HubSpot, when it originally started, we had free tools and a free version. And the idea here is we want to democratize this technology. At the time, I'm talking about 19 years ago, and we're doing the same approach now that says brief history. When HubSpot started, the fundamental thesis was, hey, there's this thing called the internet that millions of small businesses should be benefiting from, but they're not. And the reason they're not is because it's scary. It's not because there's not great tools out there for content management and web analytics and for SEO. There were lots of great tools and great companies behind those tools. But for a mere mortal company, if you're a 25-person law firm, it was very daunting to say, like, they don't even know what Wufoo is, or we know all the great tools from those times, whatever. So our thing was, like, how do we make it approachable? How do we democratize this thing called the internet and make it accessible to millions of small businesses? That is and still is, was and is our mission. We're doing the same thing with AI. That says, okay, there's this new thing called AI that millions of small businesses should be benefiting from, but not enough are. Yes, they'll use ChatGPT and they'll use kind of on the very, very fringes of it, but they're not really digging in yet. What do we need to do in order to kind of get them into the fold? And agents are kind of the next layer of abstraction. And I think people are used to the idea of using AI for content generation. Simple things, write me a blog post, generate an image for me, kind of single step tasks. Great. I think consumers and businesses are comfortable with that. But as we start thinking about agents, that requires more sophistication. How do I find the agents? Who maintains them? What is training an agent? What does that look like? All of these things are new. And so our hope is that we sort of bring kind of SMBs up and start with making it completely approachable. And the easiest way to make something approachable is to remove all barriers and all friction, one of which is price. And free is the easiest price to try things out. And the second one is to make things easy. It's like, okay, well, don't try to boil the ocean to have the super sophisticated thing. And there are lots of great sophisticated kind of agent and AI products out there. We want to go like the other end and do what we do best, which is educate, simplify, and make things approachable. And we will monetize. We are a for-profit company. We're red-blooded capitalists, but warm-hearted red-blooded capitalists. And so Agent.ai will have monetization, right? And that's the only way third parties are going to be able to make money. But we were, and the original idea was around creating this kind of network, right? A marketplace. And we would do this anyway, but it was particularly true. It's like, okay, well, agent builders are going to want to go to where the consumers are, like where their potential audience would be, right? And the consumers want to go to where the agents are. It's the classic marketplace kind of chicken egg problem. And so now we have 2 million plus users on Agent.ai, still growing very, very quickly. So when we go to market with a kind of monetized offering, we'll say, hey, we have a bunch of free agents, a lot of them community built, a lot of them we've built. We're going to have a handful of agents that we think are what we'll call premium agents that will have a price tag attached to them. And we'll let third parties build premium agents as well. And they can still put community agents out there, fine. But they can have commercial agents as well. That's where we're headed. But we felt like the product wasn't good enough. We hadn't learned enough, and we hadn't built enough momentum to be able to kind of earn our seat at that particular table. And now I think we're there. We have enough users. We've got the product. And my apologies for the prior times you tried it. It's getting better now. But yeah, it's software. So
On making AI and agents accessible, you obviously see 2 million users every day trying and using these agents. Are there any like patterns that you're seeing in normal people that are succeeding with these AI and agents and using them for work effectively versus people who maybe try it once and don't try it again?
yeah, I think the what we've learned is that a lot of people. So we have in any given month like 100,000 people, new people that will show up on agent.ai. And the patterns that we're seeing is that they're sort of the kind of early adopter types because they've heard of agents. It's not so mainstream. Like we within the tech industry talk about agents and things like that all the time. For the rest of society, it's still very, very new. And so the way we approach it is very much around the education that says, oh, you've used ChatGPT and things like that. Find areas of your bit, like here are things that people like you, if you're working in marketing, you're likely using it to write a blog post, but have you considered taking it a couple of steps forward? It's like, oh, I'm going to write the blog post, then I'm going to auto-generate the social media posts around it that takes a snippet from that or whatever, and carry that forward. So if you can take something that's already familiar and say, and maybe they're doing pieces of it, but they're doing like I'm putting something into ChatGPT, then I'm copying that and pasting that into something else to do or whatever. It's like those are the kinds of things that are perfect for some sort of agentic, automated approach, and that's where we start. And the second level is around what we call knowledge agents. That says, okay, you probably have a set of PDFs, blog articles, web pages, videos, or things like that that encapsulate the knowledge that you have in your organization. And you want to be able to kind of make that easily and readily available either for yourself, for your own personal use, or for your team, whatever that might be. And there are ways to solve that, right? There's custom GPTs and things to be able to create, RAG-based AI pipeline. But just the fact that I said RAG and AI pipeline already will throw people off. So we just take it the other way that says, build a knowledge agent. Here's all that's involved. Here are 5 videos on how to do it. Here are some examples that you can start with, and then they sort of see the power of a kind of somewhat trained model they train. It's like, and the training that happens by virtue of knowledge they already have. And so we see it a lot for like, marketers like it for like something that will adhere to brand guidelines and things like that. That says, oh, here's our tone of voice, here's our brand guidelines. Now some say, well, we could just give them a custom prompt or, and they would do that. But it's like, okay, well, you want that, but then you also want the generation, but then you also want the brand guidelines around the social media side of it. And you want to pull all of that together. That's the kind of thing that you sort of have this, I'll call it the agent maturity curve, that you start simple. And my advice is always to kind of start deterministic because, the first thing, and I'm still somewhat apologetic, is I use the word agent very liberally in terms of what's an agent. And some would argue an agent has to have autonomy, has to have non-determinism, it has to be actually making choices and doing things on its own. I'm like, sure, that's one end of the spectrum of agents, but there's another end of the spectrum of the agents. It's just software that uses AI, and it happens to be, even if it's like a single step or 2 steps or whatever, to me, it's still an agent. And the metaphor I like is in just like organisms in biology, you can have very sophisticated organisms like humans, but you can have single-celled organisms, right? It's like they're very, very simple. They're still organisms, right? So the kind of primitives are still there. It still qualifies as an organism. It's just not as sophisticated as a mammal might be. Anyway, so I guess my larger point here is that my advice to new folks, and this is embedded inside of agent.ai, is like, don't overthink it. This is not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be useful, right? And start, it's like, oh, even if you have 3 deterministic steps and you know what the steps are, don't try to coerce a reasoning model, however smart, to kind of figure out those. Like, I know the steps that I need to do to accomplish this particular goal. And maybe one of those steps involves, or all of them involve calling an LM. That's fine. But don't try to hand over too much too soon.
On the agent definition part, I think we're at a really interesting time too, because, there are some agents that work somewhat reliably that are non-deterministic, but they're not perfect yet.
Yep.
Right. So just in your opinion, or based on what you've seen, like what do you think the current bottlenecks are that are just stopping these agents from going full blown autonomous
Yeah.
and kind of work, like you said, like working together in the network and, maybe working with multiple agents? Like what's stopping us from getting there?
Yeah, so I've a lot of thoughts on that because HubSpot has we have agent.ai, obviously, very very simple agents. It's at one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a customer agent, which is for customer support that businesses use to be the frontline support, like customer facing. It will answer questions, and we measure, CSAT. Are the people happy when they get responses from from the agent? What's the resolution rate? What percentage of questions is the agent able to answer? And like anything else, it's like if it's kind of I'm a big believer in iteration, kind of measured iteration. That says if you can go through a loop, and at the end of a loop whether you got better or worse, you're going to win eventually, right? It's like something, any system that can be improved iteratively over some period of time will be good enough by some definition. And so the customer support agents are effectively there. So we have thousands of customers that put customer agent in front of their customers and answers questions. Usually the holdup is a couple of things. One is they don't think about, in the fullest sense of the term, an agent as being, which is exactly what it is. So if you think about it, back to my earlier comments, is that if you think of agents as teammates, which is what they're going to become, but even if today you thought of them as teammates, you would not hire a teammate. Let's say you were going to hire an intern, graduated not from one of the top schools, but all the top schools, and has a PhD in everything. Great, brilliant person. You would not just hand them a computer and access to all the internals of the organization and say, here's what we want done, go do it, right? It's like, that would be foolish. We wouldn't do that, regardless of how smart that person happened to be. The same is true for agents. It's like, okay, well, agents need to be trained. They need to be tested. They need to have the equivalent of performance reviews. For instance, if you hired that intern that was brilliant, you would say, oh, maybe after week one or whatever, it's like, okay, they write their first thing or produce their first video or do whatever. It's like, let's sit down. Let me tell you the things you got right. Let me tell you the things you got wrong, because you want them to get better. And that's how you make agents actually work, is treat them as if they were teammates. It's like you have to make the investment in training and customization and things like that. And there's a balance here. So if it's a relatively low risk use case, fine. You can throw things at it. For instance, let's say you were going to use a customer agent that was only available to your own internal support people as a additional resources in addition to documents and things like that they have. It's like, oh, as you're answering customer questions or whatever, you have this tool over here that you can chat with, and it can help you answer the customer's question, but there's still a human in the loop. Totally fine with taking that approach. So then you can sort of build your comfort level, but over time you will find that you sort of get out of agents, and this is true for AI more broadly, sort of what you put into it. And we sort of want this immediate silver bullet kind of thing that says, oh, I bought this customer agent that's supposed to answer all my customer queries. It's like, well, it's not magic. So it knows everything about everything, Newtonian physics and Shakespearean sonnets or whatever, and it knows nothing about your business other than what's publicly accessible. And if it can answer questions for customers based on the publicly available information, awesome. You will get your mileage will vary, but it can do that. But it knows nothing about your internal business or whatever, so it's kind of foolish to expect it to be able to do things because it was not trained on any of that knowledge. So that's the yeah. By the way, a good a case in terms of agents working together. We're seeing the beginnings of this on the agent side of this customer agent side of the spectrum. Is that so? We have a knowledge base agent within HubSpot, and the idea there is like we have a knowledge base that you write up articles or whatever. And historically, that product, the original knowledge base product, got created in order for businesses to have a knowledge base online that says, oh, we're a software company. Here are the common things of how to do X and do Y or solve this issue. Super useful. And now we kind of feed that knowledge base to the customer agent that says, okay, well, you've already invested all this time in producing 500 knowledge base articles. That's perfect information to give to the customer agent. Okay, that makes sense. Now what's cool, though, is that when the customer agent fails to answer a question, it's like, oh, I don't know the answer to that with a sufficient degree of confidence. Instead of just saying, I don't know that it does that, and we'll kind of escalate to a human, but then it will kick off the knowledge base agent and say, hey, here came this question. It didn't have, I didn't have an answer. Here's a draft response to the question as a knowledge base article that goes into a human for review. so we can kind of grow the knowledge base as a result of what we're learning from inbound data. And the cool thing is that the way the knowledge base agent can kind of write its responses is that it has access to every customer support call, all the support emails that we've had or that customer has had over a long period of time. So all the dots start to connect. It's like, oh, well, that investment you made in knowledge, that's great because now your customer agent's informed. It's like, oh, it's like that. Remember you were logging all your emails and your calls and everything like that. We have like a textual transcript that can now be used to inform knowledge base article authoring. Anyway, so it's all.
So something I can't stop thinking about, this is like something I'm personally dealing with every day, is like, how do you build a startup from the ground up in the AI era, right? Like when do you hire humans versus when do you hire an agent and use an AI for that? Or how do you empower a human with an agent? And talking with you, it's really interesting because you're actually, you're very successful and you started HubSpot, but you're actually kind of building agent AI and you're building the team from the ground up. Are you doing anything differently with building the agent AI team versus when you started HubSpot? Like, are you hiring slower? Are you keeping it leaner? Like, what are some tactical things you're doing with the team?
Yeah, I'm a believer in hiring slowly even in the pre-AI world. But tactically, the thing we're sort of things that I say are different is like we're solving more for generalists than we would for specialists. Because over time, I think what's going to happen is that the very, very deep kind of specialized skill that you needed but couldn't get to any other way other than hiring a human, I think that's going to be less needed, right? Not needed, but less needed, especially in the world of a startup where resources are very, very scant. So what you want is people that get obsessed with the customer problem, which is the thing why the company exists or the project exists. But you want them to be like, if I were to solve for like one kind of, I'll say, trait or skill, it would be curiosity. Is that it's like, oh, okay, I've got this thing that I'm doing or I need to do or whatever. It's like, will they kind of lean towards like, okay, well, I've heard AI is pretty cool. I've heard agents are pretty cool, and it can be our tools or other people's tools. We don't care. Like they are sort of intrinsically bothered by inefficiency, and they're curious enough to see if it's possible to do something. And so we're looking for those very customer-focused generalists that are curious and have this kind of iterative approach. It's like we're going to try it. Maybe it fails. One of the pieces of tactical advice I give both to the team and the world at large is that anytime you're trying to do something, whatever it might be, or solve a problem, do something, give AI a shot first. Like pick your favorite AI tool of choice, be it ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever. Just try it. And if it fails, which it likely will, based on what you're trying, fine. Give yourself like a 6-month reminder from now to retry the same thing. Because I think a mistake people make is like, oh, I tried AI for that. It didn't work at all. Like it failed miserably in crashing, burning flames. It's like, okay, fine. One of the things we sort of have a hard time understanding as humans when we're on an exponential curve, which we are with LLMs and just their degree, just like we were with computers before that, but even more so, no pun intended, more so. Anyway, is things change just so fast. So something that AI was not capable of today is entirely possible that it will be capable of to a certain level of quality 6 months from now. So don't just give up. And it's like if you're looking for reasons not to use AI, you will find a million reasons not to use AI. All right, it's like that's, but kind of try it. Have this kind of childlike curiosity. Like my son is like, well, why wouldn't AI be able to do that? It thinks it's all powerful, all knowing. Like it's like and he'll skin his knees like it's not really good at that, and you'll move on to the next thing. But at least try it. That's anyway. So smaller teams, more kind of generalist teams that we can kind of move around because we're not exactly sure what the thing looks like. Because the product itself is changing, because the technology is trying to use is changing. So we've got multiple axes of really rapid evolution. But at the end of the day, though, it's like the way to, I think, build a successful startup hasn't changed all that much. You still need to be very customer obsessed, obsessed over the problem, not your particular solution. All the things that were true 5 years ago, I think most of them are still very true. But you have a new tool set, just like before the internet. You didn't have the internet, but then you did, so you'd be an idiot not to use the internet, both in building your product and getting access to information. AI is the same thing. Like find people that will use the best available tools to solve the problem at hand.
Uh, Before we move on, I just want to like get that piece out again,
Yeah.
and I want to break it down. So
Sure.
what you're saying is, if someone, is curious, that's the first step is to be curious, and the second step is to just like take your work problems, whatever it is, it could be a really hard problem, it could be something simple,
Yep.
and then just ask ChatGPT if it can do it or solve it,
Yep.
and then if it can't, remind yourself again. Is that like kind of the strategy there, or?
Yeah, so that's like the kind of single shot and time delayed. So two takeaway messages here. One is have the curiosity to want to know, have that experimental mindset to say I'm going to try AI to see if it can help me solve this problem, and then and it can vary in terms of how often you try based on what the problem happens to be. But at least 6 months out, put a calendar entry out there because lots will have changed by then. Is to be able to kind of try it iteratively. But the other thing I would recommend is, and this is true for software in general and problem solving, is try to get. If I had to pick one skill, by the way, outside of curiosity, like a super tactical skill, it's useful, is what engineers would call functional decomposition. And the idea here is whatever large problem you have, if you can articulate that problem as a broken down piece of, it's like, okay, if I could solve this, this, and this, then this larger problem would be solved. And that's it. That's the first thing, like first order pass at it. It's like, okay, well, now treat each of those individual parts like, oh, I have this problem to solve. If I could solve these two problems, this particular problem would be solved, right? And this applies to so much in life. So for instance, when you're building a company, you have an org chart, however big or small the company is, however big or small your team is. Like, oh, well, we need a VP of marketing. Why? Okay, well, we need a VP of marketing because we need to do lead gen, we need to do social media, and we need to do AEO. Let's just say whatever list of things. Okay, so you're saying if we hire someone like this and we hire someone like that, and we hire someone like that, then our marketing thing would be solved. Okay, now for the AEO, like what do you need to do AEO? It's like, oh, we need to do this, 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 and the other thing, whatever. So you're constantly decomposing it, and what you will find is that once you go deep enough into it, problems will kind of fall into one of three buckets. It's like, that's trivial. It's like that's not even a thing anymore, right? It's like, oh, you have to do a Google search in order to solve this particular, based on how deep down the stack you go. Another bucket of problems that's now new is like, oh, well, that's actually solvable by AI, or we can build a workflow or an agent or an automation or something like that to do it. But that idea of breaking large problems down into its constituent pieces and recursively going through that, it's like, okay, well, then it's just any problem is solvable if you have that ability to say, okay, well, what does this really mean to solve X? Can I make it a decomposed function of this that involves these three things or whatever number of things?
Something else I noticed that you do differently than any other founder or billionaire I've seen is you still code yourself a lot, like more than any other major founder. It almost seems to me like it's got to be a waste of your time. You could hire so many people to do that. Is there a reason why you're like deep in the trenches?
Yeah, and I'm going to go on a mini rant here. So, and this is not directed at you, just directed at the universe at large.
Okay.
I'll say a couple of things. One is, and partly a life lesson, is we as humans have a tendency to say, here are our weaknesses, here are our strengths, and I'm going to kind of iterate on my weaknesses and make them less weaknesses. And so I'm going to kind of broaden my scope, which is useful. A much better return on calories spent is to actually amplify your strengths. Because if you amplify your strengths that you're already strong at, the return on that will far overshadow the weaknesses. The weaknesses won't matter. Now, like I have lots of quirks of weirdness. For instance, I don't do phone calls like at all. I don't, and I have maybe 4 phone calls a year. Right? It's like and it's just always been. It's like. And I don't manage anyone. We have 9,000 people at HubSpot. I've never managed anyone because I'm very, very bad at it. Because I've like, okay, there's a very limited number of things that I think I'm actually pretty good at. I just want to get better at those things. And if I get good enough at those things, the rest of it won't matter. Won't matter that I can't manage people. Won't matter that I have all these faults and deficiencies. Which brings me back to the kind of coding thing. It just so happens that the thing I'm good at is producing software. that's my thing. I'm grateful for having. I learned a little bit later in my life than I would have liked to. I didn't start coding until in my 20s, but but I think this general rule actually applies, and I'll get to the ranty portion of it. So the universe says that you are good at you're an author, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're an athlete. In most disciplines, we don't say, "Hey, you are a best-selling author. You're Stephen King." What we want you to do is we want you to stop writing, and we want you to manage this team of writers over here. Like that would be sort of silly. Oh, you're a world-class musician. You've trained your entire life to be a world-class musician. We're going to have you stop actually playing music, and we're going to start having you do like something else because that like it doesn't make any sense. And I think part of why we do it in business is because we sort of associate businessy things like coding or whatever. It's like, oh well, because the other question I get is like, well, why do you work so hard? It's like, okay, well, I'm not doing it for the money. I have enough of that. I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. It's because I love it, and I want to get better and better at it, and it's changing and it's fun. So that's why. And it's like, and it pays for me. It pays off both emotionally and financially, which is I'm not the smartest developer in the world, but I think a mix of skills that I've acquired over the fullness of time, of which that is one of the pillars. So yeah. So
Well, I think that's going to be great advice for so many people listening. And yeah, you've definitely done things uniquely, but you're wildly successful, and it's brought you to where you are. So yeah, that's incredible advice. And I think that's all the time we have. So thanks so much for doing this, and I had a blast.
thanks for having me. It was really fun to do this.